Yes, yes, we know communication is key. We don't necessarily need boundaries. Hey dearies, welcome back to my channel, Convos with him. So I feel like it has been forever since I've sat down to film a video. The past two videos I did that since back in February, but I was unable to edit from since then. But I am so happy to be back and I have so many great topics to discuss, so I can't wait. Recently I've been thinking about how someone can stay intentional when it is they do get into a relationship. I know there are a lot of singles who are really on an intentional journey in their singleness and really just trying to heal and grow from their past. And I feel like when you're on that side of the fence where it's like you're single, you're not really concerned about, okay, how am I going to be intentional, and you're thinking that, okay, yes, when I get into a relationship I'm not going to make the same mistakes, I'm going to be more intentional and do all what you're supposed to do, right? But what about when you actually are in the relationship? How do you really stay intentional in that relationship? So I have a few points to share with you. So without any further rambling, let's get into these points. First way you can stay intentional is to be honest with yourself. A lot of times we know exactly how it is we feel about something, but yet we may not want to accept the fact and accept those feelings that we may have while in the relationship. So you have to be honest with yourself. You have to check yourself. You have to be real with yourself. If it is you are doing something that you shouldn't be doing, or you are doing something that would eventually lead up to the relationship having some sort of problem or something, then be honest. Have that tough conversation with yourself and deal with the issue ASAP. So the second way you can stay intentional is to set boundaries. Yes, set boundaries. A lot of times we feel as if we don't necessarily need boundaries, and we don't like people to put limits on ourselves and to put limits on whatever we may be doing. But if it is you truly want to be and stay intentional in the relationship that you are in, then you need to set boundaries, set up things in place that would prevent you from making the same mistakes that you would have made in the past, because of course you don't want to fall back into those same old habits. Put things in place where you won't make those same mistakes. It is hard sometimes to set up those boundaries, but in the long run you as a couple will benefit from those boundaries that you set from the get-go. The third way you can stay intentional in your relationship is to put God first in your life first, and put him first in your relationship. So I know this may be sounding so like Christiany, like, yeah, put God first in your relationship. Yes, God has to be first in your life. But the reality is, we have to put God first. We have to make God the center of our lives, and we have to make him also the center of our relationships. Not just, romantic relationships, but even friendships, relationship you have with your family. We have to allow God to really guide us in those relationships to help us to stay intentional in it. Number 5, get in a community of like-minded persons. This is another way you can stay intentional in your relationship. Surround yourself and be around other couples who you can grow and learn from. When you talk about this, it kind of sounds like, you're having other people in your business, but When it says you put yourself in this position and you get in a community of people who is walking the same path as you are able to learn from them. You are able to even learn from their mistakes that they have made, and it will help prevent you from making those same mistakes in your relationship. You will be able to grow as a couple as you learn and you spend time with that community. It's sort of like having an accountability community, because that community in return can help you with whatever issues you may have or whatever difficulties you may be going through in your relationship. So when it is you find yourself around people who are in godly relationships, find yourself around couples, mature couples who may not necessarily be in a relationship, but couples who are even married because they would have passed through that phase and have so much experience. When you find yourself in those kinds of community, it helps you to continue to stay intentional with your relationship, because you will be able to, when you hear stories, it will kind of make you think like, wow, okay, like, we can't let this happen to us, or we were doing this and this could have potentially led to this, but because of the stories that you may have heard from this community, you were able to learn, and then you can grow as a couple. So I highly recommend, if it is you want to stay intentional, find yourself in a community of like-minded persons. So the sixth point, which is the second to last point that I want to share with you, is verbalize. If it is you really want to stay intentional, you need to verbalize. And this one is somewhat connected to number one, being honest with yourself. So all verbalize means is to communicate. Yes, we know communication is key. Let's not forget that, right? So we constantly hear that all the time. Communication is key, communication is key, communication is key. We hear of so many stories and so many instances of people failing at communication. I myself would say that communication is not my strongest characteristic. Yeah. You have to verbalize, you have to communicate, and you have to speak up. If there is something that is bothering you, speak up. If something is on your mind concerning, something your partner may have done to you, you have to speak up. Because if you don't speak up and you don't verbalize, what you may be feeling or how you felt about a particular situation, then that can eventually just lead to a whole set of drama in the long run, and it can just blow up into something that could have been prevented if only you had just, say it with me, communicated. So yes, communicate. And I know everyone is different when it comes to verbalizing. Some people, like myself, you may need time to process and think about certain things, think about how you feel about it, or think before you make a decision on something. That is all well and okay, as long as you eventually verbalize it. But always keep in mind your partner, because if they realize that, okay, something is bothering you, but then you are not saying anything, then it can also affect them and hurt them without you even, realizing that it is hurting them, while you may just be processing and taking your time, right? So you have to be aware of that. And when it says you actually verbalize and communicate, you are being intentional, because something is bothering you. So you are saying what is on your mind, and then you are working out the issue as a couple, and you are working it out in your relationship, and it will help you even in the future. And the last point that I want to share with you about how you can stay intentional in your relationship is to invest time. So it's not no business deal or whatever, but anything outside of a relationship, anything in your life that is important, you will have to make sacrifices. You're going to have to give up some things, you're going to have to make an effort, and you're going to have to put in the time that is required to get the results that you want. If it is, it's your business, you're studying in school, you're working, whatever it is, you have to invest time to get the results that you so desire. And if you truly want to have that godly relationship that you desire, and not, fall back into old patterns of the world and to just go back into those toxic, unhealthy relationships, then you have to invest the time. You have to make the effort. You have to put in the work that is required for you to have that relationship that you desire. That relationship where you may want to result in a marriage. Staying intentional means investing time into your relationship, investing time into your partner, spending time with your partner. So these are just 7 points, but not limited to 7 ways in which you can stay intentional in your relationship. If you can think of any other ways one can stay intentional when they are in a relationship, leave me a comment below and let me know so we can all get more points and tips and ways we can stay intentional in a relationship when it is you are in a relationship. And now for my favorite part of the video, let's jump into today's sis quote of the day. So today's quote says, sis, you can do this. Sis, you can do this. As the quote says, right? You may not have had good experiences in your past relationships. Maybe you've been in unhealthy and toxic relationship your whole life, but I want you to know that when God do sends that right person for you, then know that God has healed you, He has restored you, and He has given you everything that you need to be able to get the relationship that you want. And I want you to know that you can do this. You are able to overcome all the hard times that you will face in your relationships. You are able to grow in your relationship and grow as an individual, grow as a couple. Be reminded that you just need to put God first and believe and trust that He is with you in this and that you can do it. As always, thank you so much for watching today's video. Make sure and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and follow the Convos with Him community over on Instagram if you're not already following Convos with Him over on IG. So guys, as always, until then, I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!